on Thursday night, I'll be.
Yeah, there's no delay.
No swearing anymore.
Yeah,
You're the different.
yeah, for sure. It's my whole week. Only thing I'm
Do we
looking
wanna
forward
push
to.
it in the center more? I don't know.
That's what I'm wondering, if
Yeah,
it's,
like push that towards the end there.
it should come off that. I don't know.
Can it come off the base,
It'll be all right.
Brian?
Just have to,
That thing can come off the base, right?
I'm just getting it.
all right.
As long as we keep this under a couple hours, we'll be golden.
Should be all right. Please. No, yeah. You're all right. You can throw it. Just don't sweat too much.
And, you know, like, did you come down when, you had to cut stuff down?
No, I
Or was
think
it
that was
Justin?
Justin.
Yeah. Well, I told the captain, hey, no, it's not, you know, see those little mics there, they'll pick it up, there's like an extra mic these things.
And your mom's listening.
Yeah, oh yeah. Freaked out.
Oh, yeah, every once in a while I hear something from the basement that I shouldn't hear. I open up the door, I'm like, I can hear you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I just thought they didn't paint. I thought they forgot to paint.
No, I just can't figure out the theater.
That's supposed to be an accent. It's not an accident.
I know.
Sure, yeah.
I haven't seen that.
I'll start the,
Right in the middle.
She's getting there though.
maybe we'll just say that quick here before we go live. There's a couple people here that really appreciate like loud, like, you know, kind of like, announced and kind of pronounced voices, just for better hearing. So just try to, you know, take it a notch above normal.
Then the next thing would be if Brian Miller was yelling at them.
All right. Well, it's 6 o'clock, so we can start, we'll start the city council work session / daycare centers, I guess. Full motion to approve the agenda. All right, we had a roll call. Yeah. Roll call. Thanks, Carol. Caitlin, are you with us? Okay.
Tom Hawkins,
Here.
Matt McKinney,
Here.
Brian Miller,
Here,
Logan Wells.
Here.
Call for motion to approve the agenda.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I guess I probably started this ball rolling, but at the same time, I mean, it's been a process over a few years now, but, so we're here to discuss to see whether, you know, we can do anything with city council, can do anything to help this, the situation we have with Webster, with daycare in Webster City in general. So, yes, open up to whichever way. Yes, we left when we met. I met with the group. Well, we got a few people weren't here, so I met with the group and I asked for the meeting, and I just suggested that what would it look like if the two merged, and what Riverview Daycare took over the whole thing and ran one large daycare centre under their name, their management, and what would that take, and where would it be, and whatever else, and then left it to you guys to go from there. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Caitlin. So anyway, I guess that's the grassroots of where we left it last time, so.
Maybe what would be a good place to start is, what is the situation and where are both boards today? And maybe that'd be kind of a good point to kind of to bounce this conversation off of and kind of figure out a path.
Well, I can speak for us. We proceeded as if we had to be, I can speak for us. We just proceeded as if, we need to get it up back and going. Like I said last time, we had some DHS issues to take care of. We did an action plan that we turned in Friday, and we're on pace to where DHS wants us. We reopened today. So we're just proceeding as we are, day to day, building it back up.
And I know after our joint board meeting kind of concluded, our board talked a little bit after you guys left, you know, and from that, I think more questions came than answers, right? You know, I think we all agreed, we kind of wanted to know more what this would look like and more what a financial support would look like if this path was taken by the city, hence this meeting, if I'm correct. I'm paraphrasing too much, but kind of where we stand now is just really exploratory, investigative, and learning kind of what the options are financially and geographically.
So what is it, I guess, what questions, what are your questions out if you've got a list of them or whatever?
Janet, Janet and Dick, you guys might have a better idea, kind of the exact questions, but a lot of it is, you know, these are pretty vague, but funding, timing, and expectations. And that's what we really need to know, right, as a board, to know what we want to do moving forward.
Ownership and.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly. So, like, you know, a lot of questions arise when, you know, government bodies, you know, start funding a center more heavily, and we take on other responsibilities if that is the path. You know, would the city pony up some dollars, and then would that come with strings where, you know, our board wouldn't retain control of our direction, or possibly ownership of a building, or ownership of the center as a whole, or we are a contracted body to manage it, and the city owns it? There's just a lot of conversation like that, like what ifs and different options. Some conversation that came via email on our board after the meeting was other options, third-party resources like consultants and companies like that, bringing them in to get you know, a course correction done in the interim. So, you know, if we just had questions like that.
We had entertained some preliminary numbers on a consultant.
Yeah,
At one
and
point.
we knocked that back because it was $20,000 to pretty well do what you already know as management. And then it was gonna be 30,000 or something after that. So then come back and tell you how you need to run your place and what needs to be done. So it was, yeah, we didn't think that was money well spent. So that was the reason we sort of stepped away from going. That was before, when we were looking at doing some funding, you know, see how our funding was and see how we were doing, I guess, an independent thing of where the city was going to go with the daycare and how we're going to assist and that sort of thing, and trying to figure out what the best move is for everybody. And that was middle of last year, I guess, when that was going down. But so that was just while they were still doing, you know, the bonus program and things like that, we were trying to figure out how we can support the thing as a long-term fix as well, I guess. So that's where we don't see that, you know, the trouble with bringing experts in is sometimes they're only as good as what you already know. So if you're running a good show, you really probably don't need the experts to come tell you how to do it. And that was, you know, I guess, with that, Matt, wasn't it?
Just the cost that it's a fairly big chunk,
Mm-hmm.
and it was multi-phases. The first phase was along with 20 grand. I guess for everyone's benefit, can we just kind of run through what the city's doing right now as far as like the Webster City Daycare has a mortgage with the city? You guys have a loan on your side, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We didn't have much of a loan left.
Now, after we baked back into the interest we paid over the years, gosh, it minimized it to, I don't even know what the dollar amount is, but it's down around like 20 grand or something like that. It's somewhat minimal. Yeah, 19, yeah. So it really took that down quite a bit. And it's a minimal payment on our monthly, you know, bottom line. It's not much, but yeah, technically we still hold about 19 grand in city debt.
I don't even know what ours is.
The Webster City Daycare, I think there was besides what I just heard, which was nothing.
Started 7 minutes ago.
Balance is 163,000.
I don't know.
What was the question?
Can't tell who that
Is
is.
that,
Is anyone?
was that Caitlin, did you talk to us, or was somebody else on the line?
That's not me.
Okay. All right.
So the, kind of more data there too, is our 19 grand is technically unsecured. It's not tied to any property, and I believe yours is a mortgage type contract.
Well, yours is you're buying your place on contract.
Right.
So, from the city. Isn't that correct?
Yep.
And I guess that's the figure, is it, Daniel?
Yeah, what Doty gave me this morning was a 163,823. Monthly payments are $500 a month.
And I guess, part of the reason I was looking at it is because, obviously you guys, just own, you now own your building you're in. But I think both facilities are in the position where they're almost needing revamping again, which means they're almost ready to come back to the city and say, well, we need help again or we need a loan again or whatever. It doesn't mean they have to be, you can go to anyone and get that, but that's part of the reasoning for me getting in the middle of this a long time ago, I guess, was because I could see it coming down the line, but I don't know. I guess, is that enough?
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I guess the way I looked at it from a city council perspective, with the city supporting, in a way, both daycares, and looking at kind of the economy of scale of having maintenance on 2 buildings, having utilities on 2 buildings, all that goes with that. That's why we talked to the council several years ago. Does it make sense if we can find an arrangement to look at one center, regardless of whether it's over there or up on Beach Street, wherever that is? One building with maybe there's a manager, assistant manager, or 2 assistant managers, whatever it takes for the number of kids, and have something that we can reduce the cost. And maybe at that point, if it's one center, the city can talk about a forgiveness of a loan. We have to have a plan before we can really even talk financials.
And I think that's some of the apprehension and anxiety from our board is that we don't know what that financial backing either looks like or comes with. Is that, yeah. And so that, it's hard for us to kind of go, yeah, well, by the way, we're not closed to that yet. We definitely want to see this through. I think everyone in this room wants to see a positive solution to it. But again, we just need to kind of know those first before we jump right in, and we really don't have any hard numbers or an understanding of what the city can provide and what the timeline would look like with the merger. I think just in real estate, looking at that silo of issues first, housing the need of who all needs to be in a center at once. Yeah, both buildings are aging and neither one can handle everything as is today. So, the Webster Daycare Center would probably have to be added onto, or the Riverview Center would have to be added onto, but there would be one building. What's that look like?
So I would assume that the Webster City Daycare is big enough to take on both lots if you had the whole building without expanding. However, having said that, it's no good putting you in the same position you are now where you're not big enough, you can't expand. And the building really doesn't, you could do some things to the building to make it more friendly for people bringing people all year round, where you can, drive up under an awning and things like that, where it make the process a little better. But there is room to expand. I think you got more room to expand maybe at the Webster City Daycare. I don't know. I haven't looked at the physical thing of the school, so.
Yeah, and we have in the past, and we've kind of hit those borders, if you will. Our property has a drastic hill to the north, which is almost impossible to do anything with. Mm-hmm. We don't have really anything to the south, and to the west we have a little, but really that's just playground and play area.
Daniel's bringing up his toys to show on the screen.
Yeah,
I think,
hey.
so I think it's hard, in my opinion, city councilman hat here, it's hard for me as a city guy to say, let's talk about this amount of money going towards this if we don't have buy-in from the group. Like, why would we talk about numbers if we don't know if we have buy-in from both groups?
Oh, yeah,
Because
I mean,
to me, it would have to start with buy-in from both groups and then talk about what building and how that would work and how we'd lay it out. And then we'd have to get estimates and see what it would cost and yada, yada, yada. I don't get that's what we haven't seen in the past, is the feeling that both groups are buying into it.
I think we talk about numbers and logistics and what might be easiest to manage, but at the forefront of my mind as a parent, what is the best for my child? And I would assume
It can't just be about your child, it has to be
well,
about every
everybody's
child.
child. Yeah, but I was just gonna say that, I'm assuming in the forefront of all the parents in the room and Rosie and anybody who's invested in the future of the community. So whether that is one center or two, I can't say what everybody's opinion is, but I think we just have to keep that in mind moving forward as well.
well, I thought that's what we were doing by making it Riverview Daycare, and that management seems to work well. That's why we would go down that path.
I think a better, explain Rachel's point is that we have an ecosystem at Riverview. We have a finely tuned ecosystem at Riverview, when it comes to the way we like it, the financials, how Rosie manages is done well. But to kind of do that quantum leap to doubling it, that's our anxiety. Right? And that's the unknown for us. And I think when it comes to buy-in, I think the buy-in is us all showing up today and us being open to this conversation. Or in prior conversations, we either got hesitant or the conversation's gotten cold or hit that end and we stopped. I know our board, we are open to the idea, and the buy-in is that we're here trying to figure that out. But it can't be a blind commitment. I think that's what we're
I
suggesting.
think we know what it costs to do certain things and how to manage certain things. But when you double that, what does that mean? We probably couldn't finance with the current charges that we charge our families without some kind of other support, some more financial support. And I think that's what we don't know. Those are the questions we don't know.
Well, my thought is, and it's only my thought, it isn't the rest of the council's thought, is that if you guys were wanting to take that, really the Webster City Daycare is the only place that we are in control of. And we know because obviously they're buying it from us, so it's our responsibility to. So if you were to take that facility, we could say, well, if you guys are willing to take that on, we support you to get it to where it's the building that you want, and then it's your place. So you wouldn't have a burden of a payment by the time you're done with it.
The city would own the building.
No, you would end up owning the building.
So it would still be the responsibility of the board to.
We would do like we do now. We'd only have one member on the board, so that the city has a representative on the board because we invest a lot of money in it. But other than that, we don't. I wouldn't see it. We don't really want to be tied to these things forever. So if we can, but now having said that, it's under the long term of it. It's like the wages thing that the county's trying to do now. I don't see that as a long-term solution for you, because we can support it right now and we're getting money right now. But what happens when we don't have that money?
Right.
And so that in 3 years' time, we don't have the money to give you to help you $2 an hour, or I'll give you a bonus program, then it fails for you. Whereas if we can say that we'll continually give you support if you need a new furnace or the roof needs doing, then we're there for you. We're there to back you in those things.
Excuse me. I think financially, the operational of that business, putting the two together can be workable on our own. I mean, the fact that the operation, the salaries, and some of the care and some of the equipment and that, I mean, we're just this last month, everybody comes in and tells us, well, we have a refrigerator going out, and we got $6,000 in it or something like that. But I mean, I think that can be worked out. It's the capital,
Yeah.
it's the biggest problem for us. And somewhere along the lines, things have to be worked out too, to be able to have funds available somewhere for those capital needs that come up. Because like in both of them, where they're 20 years old, that's the last time since they've done it, there's a lot of needs. You found that out with this last year, water problems, and we find them out with some other things.
Yeah, but part of that, like, the reason I'm saying is, I don't think that the wages thing is sustainable, but I do think that we need to have you so that you can put your wages up, that that you are.
Yep.
You're not charging too much money where people can't afford to be there, but maybe we do a different system where maybe the people who can't afford it, there's a system there where we put money into a fund so that the really low income ones aren't penalised because they can get some free help, but the ones, somewhere along the line we have to get the wages up so that because you can't expect people to come work for $8 an hour.
They're no
It's just
different than anybody else.
Nobody should work for $8 an hour.
No different than anybody else that's out there looking for a wage increase and need to live on, what they need to live on. And it's a valuable commodity that we're taking care of.
So, obviously if we need to give you, if we need to look at support, that's why I'm saying it's more capital support rather than your day-to-day running of support.
I think that can be done. I think it's been proven for what we've been doing.
Because at least, then I can go out and ask other people for help and things, you can too, but I mean, that we can go to other people and say, right, there's a need here, we need, they need a new roof on that building, we need to find $200,000 to get that done.
Well, I think that's where, from my perspective, the one operation makes sense. That there's been some push to having businesses help support. They need daycare so that they can have their workers. But if they've got some families that are in one and some families are in the other, we're asking them to contribute to two separate locations, $1,000 each or whatever.
Well, then
concentrating.
Well, then you also get the unfair thing. Well, this one's managing their money well and this one isn't. So, why should I put money into there?
I agree with you.
So. Anyway, that was just my thoughts on it. So I know you guys get to weigh in on that. I don't know, is that something more of what you were thinking?
I think so. I don't think as a board, I don't think we've had any discussion because we had too many unknowns.
Yeah.
We have to talk more about it.
And I think that's kind of the point I see of this meeting anyway, is getting those unknowns from the city, because before we couldn't really speak as a collective of what our direction would be to back that and financially support that. I believe we have a consensus that would support a capital need and possible capital needs in the short term for the other center, to help you guys get where you need to be, whether that's hiring Riverview as a consultant or pulling some resources which way, I don't know, but
I think it has to be something sustainable.
Yeah.
I mean, this council is very supportive of it. The next council may not be. So whatever is designed has to be sustainable.
that's a good point. We talked about
Well,
that.
we'd want to set it up so so that the next council
It'd be hard to undo.
somewhat committed to.
It'd be hard to undo. Were we,
No, because otherwise you do get that problem.
because
Exactly right.
that's why we talked at the meeting, like, I envision it more like an upfront capital, like, chunk. It's not a spoon-fed amount. It's not a stipend or some type of stimulus you get every quarter. It's an upfront commitment, so then a future council couldn't undo it. They could only not continue it after it ran its course.
Well, the worry is, I mean, obviously it's 20 years, and the council 20 years ago must have supported it because they gave money for both centres to do something 20 years ago. So, and we're here again. So I think, that's one thing that worked, but it's obviously got to be adjustable, doesn't it? Because the needs are maybe different now than what they were then. I don't know, but it's. And I guess I do. I know where you're coming from with your thoughts. Is it runs well? We've got 98 kids. We're doing well.
Well, I'm not saying that.
No. Well, it is a thought, though. I mean,
for sure.
there's no doubt. And of course, I know that's why I went and asked Rosie in the first place, because, like, I'm thinking about it myself if I was running it. like, hang on, I don't know whether I want it twice the size of the place I'm doing now. I've got twice as many headaches. But part of that, of course, is that if the thought is that you were going to join, then you would have to immediately get Rosie's thoughts on management that you have. Because if it's somebody that it isn't going to work well with her, then that doesn't work either. And that's unfair for them.
You have an assistant manager right now?
Yeah, assistant director.
And that's, you know, there's got to be enough money there in your thing so that when you retire, that you've got somebody you've brought up to take it on too, because otherwise, you know, we've seen where reverse cycles when they haven't got a good succession of coming along, sort of thing. But I'm sure that's something you think about. But you know, your hands are tied if you haven't got enough money. Because, you know, you go get somebody and you bring them up, and the next minute you can't pay them. You know, if you can't pay them much money, then you're going to lose them to somewhere else.
How many kids do you guys have enrolled at Riverview?
My last count, I think, was like 102, but that was probably a good couple months ago.
And what's your capacity?
98. And that's kids in the building at one time, so we never have more than that.
Sure. And what's your city daycare?
Ours was 100. I don't know what it is currently, and our capacity is 177.
So you're maxed
But we
out
give
on
out-
capacity right now, essentially.
But we give up, would you say that's a fifth of the building, probably, for the dance connection?
I don't know.
Not huge.
I'd say safely it's a fifth. It's not a quarter of the building, but I don't know how exactly square footage wise relates to more kids. I don't know how that works exactly.
What would he give you, 3 more rooms? I guess, is it, you know, toilet-wise, I think, I don't know how all that works out.
Yeah, I don't know what the determining factors are of the capacity. I don't know. Do you know how that works, Rosie?
It depends on square footage for DHS.
Okay.
Also, you know, fire marshal, all that. I think we could have more kids, but also if you take in more kids, you're gonna have more insurance, which at the time, we didn't want to pay that insurance. Plus, I mean, you don't want 21-year-olds in one room. So that was kind of taken into consideration.
You know, we lost that picture there. Yeah. I was just thinking about the dynamics of that building. I mean, we could probably do some things to make it bigger.
Which building?
That building there, the old high
How much of that land is Webster City Daycare? Because I would worry too that is there enough playground for everybody?
Well, we at
Or
least,
do
we
have
have
enough
some
land
control
to
of,
do something?
we have control of what's to the north
Okay.
of there.
We have control what's north of our playground too, right? East of Lions Park? That green strip
Yeah.
up there? So if we had to go further
So
that way.
we can give you a lot more
we could.
playground on the north side,
So
but you're limited on the south side there.
For some form of expansion.
Can't we go all the way up, Daniel? One more
You
block?
could go, yeah, because
North.
I don't know how
That's
much playground
correct.
you really want to have, but
No, but
If
if
you
we
went-
had to go out to the north, then we at least could go
you could go all the way to
playground further
all the way to
north.
that next green line.
The only thing that would probably prohibit how much you can go out to the north is, I believe, there is a high pressure gas line running through Lions Park, so that would prohibit. And then immediately just to the west of that house, that's on the north side of the parking lot, there is some other infrastructure underneath that green space between the playground fence and the homeowner's fence. That'll probably limit, or we'll have to look at some engineering to address that, but, we have the space right behind the building, on the Short Street, to be able to expand onto, and then
Or even,
you have some space in the playground area that isn't, utilized or having structures on.
So it could go east more without doing any.
Sounds like it goes
we can go every direction
You
but
can go
south,
out
yeah.
everywhere.
We can get rid of that one house and go
A
south.
lot of unused wasted space to the west.
Yeah, I mean, hypothetically, you know, if resources were, I won't say unlimited, but an option would be to, potentially shift the playground area on the north side onto Lions Park potentially, through some sort of easement or some agreement between the cities to share that space, and take that existing playground area, you can develop that for actual buildings and structures, if you're trying to expand and add on to that daycare facility.
I've never been in your guys' daycare, like on that west wall, that west back parking lot. Is that like your kitchen area? What is that back area?
The middle is the kitchen, and then the north and south are the ends of two rooms.
But like the west is, the west wall going to that parking lot. See, I would envision you just build that back to the street and you just do away with that parking lot. And that way you
At
have
the,
a
at the west
playground.
end, yeah. At the west end, you could.
Yeah, that back.
Well, this is
Yeah.
the kitchen right here.
There's no
This is just
setback
the end
zone,
of
you
the
can take
room
that
here.
parking lot completely.
Yeah, and then there's doors that exit both.
So to answer your question, yeah, you could go with more rooms here.
Yeah.
And the kitchen would just be in the middle.
I just think before we got too much into this building thing, you wanna have it, if we're gonna spend a lot of money to do that, I think it needs to be done properly. So you need to put a lot of thought into what sort of building you wanna have and how you want it to work.
I think
Because it's no good if we just add on and say, oh, here's 10 more bigger rooms for you, but nothing really links up very well.
Well,
Do you need the kitchen in the middle? Do you need it, how do you need it to work and how do you need it to flow? That's gotta be a big piece for you. Sorry, but that's just more work for you, I realize.
And there's one other big question is what you do in the interim, if you're
Yeah.
redoing that, how they're gonna carry on, because you can't put the two together right now until you get them.
Yeah, and it's gonna take time, even if we decide to move forward with that, the timing and how long that's gonna take, and, Webster daycare needs a lot of work, so if we were to go to that building, we still have to be able to do some of that in this interim.
You know, in terms of the kitchen, with some example drawings from other parts of the country where daycares, partnership with the school districts, they've utilized the school district's kitchen and their cafeteria to shuttle and deliver food to and from the daycares and preschools in the area. I don't know what the school district would be open to that, but.
Do you guys have your own cook too?
Yeah, we do.
And we've provided meals like Head Start in the past, haven't we? Yeah.
Well, that's gotta be an income source for you.
Yeah, there's the
Yeah.
food program, however that magical thing works. I don't understand it, it just works.
Okay, well, there's a lot of pieces to it.
How many, children are in your center currently? Did we?
About 100, I think they said.
Yeah, we had 100, it changed a
Probably a
little
little
bit.
hard to say, because they only just
Right,
opened again.
we just reopened Monday, so some of the people filled out schedules and some just showed up. Right, Hillary?
We had about 81 children in our building today.
We had some, ironically, we had some that, you know, acted like they wouldn't show up and then brought their kids Monday morning, so. When it's all said and done, there is nowhere else, you know, there's only so many spots out there.
Well,
What are-
it'd be good to get to a position where,
What are some of the immediate needs of the center right now?
Doors, windows, HVAC system. That would be-
Gotta be pretty old too.
Right, there's a hole in the roof, one that we know of. So, it's just been neglected, period. It has a geothermal system, which I'm familiar with, but I don't quite understand this one, so we need to get someone to come and figure that part out. It definitely cools as it is. Make it Arctic in there, but there's a whole part of it that back room on the west side goes down to the basement where two pumps that feed the system are, and then another geothermal heat pump that's there, but it's all shut down and fried from when it flooded, so I don't understand how we can be controlling the building when that thing's not working, so. And that to me. But the leak, I think I told you guys before, the pump was running at like 10 PSI, should be running at like 25. We got the pump fixed, and as soon as the pump was running at what it should, some leaks popped up because it'd never been that, and it hasn't seen that much pressure for years, so.
was that system put in 20 years ago, or was it there already?
I don't know, it wasn't there already, it was put in when, to my understanding, after IB, before the daycare.
So that would be like physical needs, like building. Is is there any like administrative, consulting or any type of, coordination needs, right now, that's a burning one or two?
Currently, we're gonna move all our finances, have Hasselbrock do them, so taking that away, just because I don't think a director should have to juggle that also. Juggling the kids and the parents and whatnot, so.
We've also got the CCR&R helping.
Right. So,
We're in a lot better spot than
yeah, if you
where we
haven't,
were.
if you haven't been through this, but if you've been where we're at, CCR&R, which I don't know what that stands for, Hillary, do you remember?
Child Care Resources and Referral.
Yes. They have a team that comes and helps you guys through this. So there's somebody who works with the director, someone who works, with the board. And what was the third thing they help with? Training?
Yeah.
So that 3-man group of people comes and they get you back up to where you need to be, help you through getting our training up to speed, everything we needed to do, so.
And that perhaps with all the discussion and the repairs that are needed, there ought to be some thought given to a whole new building versus the cost of what it would cost to expand the facility and fix everything up, so that we know kind of what we're talking about, dollars and things like that.
Oh, I can't, at this very moment, I can't picture a spot where that would be located in town. Do you guys have an idea?
Yeah, right next to your work.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true. There's some land there.
So if you did that though, is there concern for the fact that then we have two more vacant buildings in this town? I know I've heard people express that concern.
Yeah.
So, and it's way out there, but their WC daycare.
It's still an option, I think, that's still,
Yeah.
it's still something that needs to be looked at. Because that does take care of your problems as far as trying to be in a building and work it and all that sort of thing, but it still gives you the same problems. You got two places to work, which is what we want to get away from.
Makes it logistically easier if we would combine. Build a new one and then move over once it's ready.
Trouble is, that's gonna take a year to happen. But you can't have anybody doing anything.
Right, but no matter what we do, we can't shut down either place.
Would the logistics make sense of a switching point? So, like, kind of follow me in my mind here. So, like, the city starts kind of funding some of the rehabilitation projects at Webster City Daycare. Riverview starts helping Webster City Daycare kind of acclimate to the temperature of the water, how we run things over time. Once we get to a point where we start bringing on more kids and transitioning them to Riverview, we switch buildings. For now, we have the capacity to take on more, and as your guys is kind of wean them down a little bit in Riverview. And at the same time, we're adding on to the new building during this transition. So this isn't like a month thing, this is probably a year to two thing, but it helps stages be identified and that switching process happen more organically. So again, like stage one would be get Webster Daycare building up to even 90, 100%, wherever it needs to be, if that's the path we want to go, if not a new building.
Well, I guess, that's definitely a doable solution, but we'd have to figure out what it's gonna cost, get someone to give us a figure on what it's gonna cost for that building to be where it needs to be. And then what it costs us for a new building.
Yeah.
And what does the hospital give us the land? If it's gonna go there.
Have we identified any other chunks of land that might work? I mean, I know you're good at digging distance.
I can't think of anything square foot or, size-wise that would be big enough.
That's not like the industrial park or.
Right.
Yeah, the school district owned, I don't remember the one.
Soccer field.
Well, you've got some land there that the county just got near that Sashi, just, south of the Sashi, I don't know what it's called now, where the clinic was.
Okay.
Oh,
That's out there now.
There's that land there.
That's still pretty big.
It's a fairly big chunk, isn't it? Daniel, can you bring in that?
Which one?
The high school.
South,
Where the highest clinic is?
west and south of the high school.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got mixed up with another place we're talking.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still in another real good position. I mean, you gotta go all the way out there, but
We build it in the new
that's
land
that
we're
lot
annexing.
there, yeah.
The Mary Williams, no, or, is that your talking about? Oh, that chunk, okay.
Yeah, that chunk there, isn't it?
Zoom in, I can't picture where that is.
It's just south of them. Yeah.
So
See
the
where
high
the soccer
school used
field
to
is.
do some planting and stuff for ag on that land.
So the county got that with,
That building.
clinic, yeah.
It'd be ideal for,
But, you know, so it's plenty big enough that. Maybe it isn't, I mean, it's.
Yeah, it's not as big as you think, Kevin.
Well, isn't there a lot beside it as well, Daniel? Another lot beside it, I don't know who owns that.
Four-story
Whose is that
daycare.
one?
Peterson's on that.
Okay, yeah, that's not a piece of it then, so. Yeah, it's not that big when you gotta put parkland, somewhere to play and all the rest of it.
Hospital Hill.
Possible.
You just don't have the cost of brand new construction versus rehab,
Yeah.
dramatic.
You know, some parents that don't want to drive across town. Better daycare, it's more convenient.
I'm sure.
What's that?
5 minutes?
Yeah, some people don't know how bad it is to
It's a
really
big
drive
town.
across town.
It's a big town.
There was one larger scale daycare, how would that work if it needed to shut down or close
Yes,
for
we-
whatever reason?
Great
Because
question.
then that would leave pretty much no daycare in town.
So,
At least now, like if something happens at one, there's the other, like it's
yeah,
kind
you
of an
say
even
that.
balance, but at the same time, or like a water main breaks or you need to replace the air conditioners, like the entire building, all those parents have to find daycare.
Right, but that doesn't change now. Our water main, we had to shut down and Riverview thing didn't help us any, you know what I mean?
Cause we were
No,
maxed out.
No, but you had 100
those-
kids
but all
out.
the towns
had
you
daycare.
had
Still had
100 kids,
daycare.
Right,
You know,
yeah, that's true.
You know, it wouldn't be a bad idea to keep Riverview open as an option for maybe like school-age kids or like a different age group or different, you know, maybe summer expansion or something like that, you know. Again, that would totally negate the whole idea of less maintenance, less, upkeep.
Yeah, I think, to me, that defeats the purpose of the stick. Cost
But that is a
of
very good point though, of all your eggs in one basket, literally, you know.
I mean, if we went that route, I don't think Riverview would be an easy sell anyway. You aren't gonna have people down your door to buy it.
Well, I guess how many times has that happened in the last 20 years is the question. I think it's that off, one's closed, isn't it? You closed school.
for almost 25 years.
You've
But we have different,
had a
like,
couple of days where it might have been a little uncomfortable.
You have like residential furnaces though, right? So
we have like boilers and
they
stuff.
wouldn't all go down.
No, and then, like, air conditioning, I mean, we've got it set up, so there are different
Yeah,
air conditioning. If one unit goes out, we can move to the
that's
next.
the
We've got,
disadvantage
you
of
know,
our system for sure.
Yeah, and maybe that's something to think about, contingency plan, you know, like maybe the emergency management group of the county or something, like, where could we have temporary emergency daycare? Where our operation is just transplanted to like a gym or something, you know, like, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, yeah, what if there was a natural disaster, tornado came through? Okay,
Well, we could move it to Fuller Hall or something.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, we should have a plan though.
Yeah.
Like, we can just like pull that alarm at midnight and everyone knows, hey, go to Fort Hall, go to high school gym, go to wherever.
To me, that's a DHS question, what would be allowed, you know what I mean? I can't think of anywhere where you just go in tomorrow and it's safe and has all the things it needs to have.
well, and every center should have an actual plan, like DHS requires that. So I know we have one, and I haven't talked to anybody lately, but I know we did have a plan with Camp Hart to use Fuller Hall. We
Yeah.
just bus everybody if we needed to, so, you know.
Yeah.
You have the conference center up in the woods now, which you didn't have a couple of years ago, so in emergency cases, you have that facility, you have to work out the county.
I mean, it's still a point. It's something we definitely have to do. If we've got a bigger shelter, with bigger place, we'd have to have it. And maybe to take care of that problem if the building had to close, and we'd just go into that secondary place.
What's the immediate need right now for the Webster City daycare?
Those repairs.
What's the stopping you going and doing them then?
I haven't even looked into, we've had the AC fixed, I haven't got a bill for that yet, but it's not finished, and then the doors and the windows, that structural stuff, I'd have to get an estimate on, but it's gonna be daunting, I'm sure. Money, that's what's stopping us, Joe. Money.
There's likely not enough in the bank that we.
Our bank looks good right now because of the PPP loan, but we're trying not to use that for anything but payroll, 'cause
Is it to the point that in the next, another break or something of that sort, that you're gonna be out for a couple of days again?
I mean, yeah, it-
If what breaks, the AC unit or what?
right. Right now, one of the two pumps is running, we're waiting for parts on the other one. That pump went out, we'd be down again.
It doesn't have a system where you can hook from outside, but you can rent a system, put air conditioning in a building.
I mean, air pump, I guess, but you'd have to pump it.
It doesn't have a ducting system where you could hook something outside up to it.
No, it's all heat pumps. I don't know the history of that, I'm assuming. I'm gonna have a 20-year payback, yada, yada. That only works if you maintain them, which will happen.
So what you're getting at is like, would it be beneficial for like a city official or maybe like an HVAC contractor to walk through the building, maybe a construction person, I don't know, estimates on the windows and doors?
Yeah.
And that would give us a number, a city council number kind of to mull over of like like a stimulus type, loan or just grant, to the center, knowing most likely we'll be using that center in the future anyway. It's really investing in this bigger plan.
I mean, that's what I would like to see. I'd like to go through with you guys and show you the problems, and make a list and get some contractors, get some prices.
Well, like, for me, I kind of go back with what I carried when we came on board the first time and got the bean building. How much money the city had sank into the bean building before we finally sold it. This is a little bit different because, the daycare is the quality of life, it's a workforce issue. So, we have to throw money at it to make sure it remains open over the next several months. So that compare versus what the city invested in the bean building in the past.
My opinion as one councilman is choice, but to make sure both things.
Yeah, I figured that's where we're going. So it's just, what do we start, line up resources? I don't know if the city staff has resources to go through it, but, what do we do to start kind of, I guess, putting together some sort of plan financially or otherwise to,
Yeah.
because I know we're about to enter winter months, and then after that, everything kind of just goes down, and we could do that in Port Difficult.
We need to get somebody in to look at the problems you have now, but also look at the problem, what is the building? Is it capable of being something better than it is, or is it just not, is it money, just throwing money away?
Right.
About the refrigerator center, any immediate needs besides the refrigerator that you were talking about?
We got that replaced, for air conditioning, we have one unit that's working at half power, but with, traffic, so.
How many furnaces do you got in that place?
Well, we got like a big boiler
Right, for
that
heat.
like takes care of everything, I think.
Yep.
I don't know much about heating.
Yeah, but you have radiant heat, I get that, but then you have AC in the form of furnaces that blow air somehow, right?
We have units on top of the building, got like four
Okay.
different units.
I think we're sitting pretty good when it comes to like projects in the works. Like, obviously there always could be more money and always can be more invested back in the building. But if we are going down this path, would it be wise for us to do that, right? It'd be more of like Band-Aid center and long-term center what I see us needing more is a direction on how this merger is gonna happen and any administrative help, financial help to help your administration team grow if we were to take over management of the center. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, or if there's other needs, please voice them, but I see that as our need is kind of like, organizational management and operational management and how we grow our operation out, by a third, by half, by double in the coming year or two. I don't know what that is, if that's training dollars, if that's new hires, what that is, but that's what I see as our need to make this happen.
So there's currently waiting lists at either center. You have, with your capacity, Webster City Daycare capacity at 177.
Yeah, I don't know what our staffing is.
Or is it?
It's staffing.
Yep.
Oh, and I remember hearing the comment, that's 177, but I have no idea where we stick 177, even if we had the staff for it.
Seems daunting, yeah.
I wonder if those figures are
Single
done with the
file
whole
against the
building.
walls where you stick 'em. Yeah, that's a good
I was
question.
surprised.
Is that our furnace count? There's a,
Yeah, you got
Yeah,
rooftop
rooftop
units.
units,
Yeah.
yeah.
We had those.
You know, check these out.
Whole building looks okay.
so would that be next step, then, to organize an audit of the integrity of Webster Daycare?
Of the, yeah, of the building and, you know, what they need now, and then what it could be, what figure that would be, and whether, you know, so that we need to get back to whether, so you guys, I guess, first of all, decide whether that's something you'd want to take on, and then if it is, then do we, you know, is that the building to do it, or we got to build a whole new building? And that then gives us a figure as to where we're at, as to how much, you know. And obviously, you know, somehow or other we can figure it out, but it's, maybe, someone's got to do it. It's easy for me to talk.
And we got a loose list together, but I didn't really want to dig too deep until we had this conversation. Just to be involved in looking at what it is and what we need.
So what is needed from Riverview at this point?
Sure. Talk about the consensus from both boards, so all three boards, is this something we continue to move forward and?
Because potentially this board's gonna take this board over.
Yeah, and that would
I
be,
mean, that's,
I don't
well, this,
speak,
or
I don't
this,
speak for
well,
all
this
our,
board is dissolved and then,
Board, but
and then,
we'd wanna
and they
Right.
take over the whole.
you'd
thing.
want some kind of mix, because I definitely want to put all this work in and then say bye. I want to still be involved. I don't speak for the rest of them, but I'm.
I mean, I would assume then you could have a place on the board, I guess.
Right, we'd have to do
But
some kind of, be some kind of new board, I would imagine.
I guess that's up to you guys.
Parent meeting, like you had support from your.
Yeah,
parents?
I thought we were gonna get murdered, but it went really well, so. Yeah, no real, I mean, you guys can, it went really well, so.
I had 14 families call me in renewal next day.
Yeah.
14 different families, that was impressive.
And we, basically, they just had questions based on all the rumors they'd heard.
Right.
So once we squelched the rumors and reported what was actually happened, it was, there wasn't any drama or anything like that, it was just a meeting.
I think if you are going to boards and time, my thought would be that we would have some kind of organizational bylaws or something that set a board, and then people can apply just like the other boards that you, I mean, how you get your board members now, and then you can get a mix of you and Webster City Daycare be involved.
Right. Yeah, you couldn't put that in the bylaws though, because eventually Webster Daycare would be dissolved. So having to find some type of like retroactive, legacy member of Webster Daycare to be on there. I don't think our board's never open to bringing in new talent and aspects, parents' opinions. We've been a very inclusive board, and I think we'll continue to be even with this merger. And we, of course, want your knowledge and help. Now, I don't think our board would just go back to the drawing board and create a new board.
I don't think you should either.
But we'd be happy to welcome, one or two of you onto our board if that's, you guys are passionate about. Like, we're extremely inclusive, so I don't think that would be an issue per se, bringing one or two in. I don't see it being like.
Well, the intention isn't to change the dynamics you have, in my opinion. You don't really want to go in and reinvent the wheel. You already have the wheel, so I don't see why you'd change it. I mean, it's working. So if it's only a case of, and then I would think that's probably doable to have another board member, isn't it? I don't know. That's up to you guys, but I don't know how many board members want to be on it. I spend most of my time trying to get off things. I keep putting my foot in.
What do we think? I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on what you're hearing tonight?
I think we need to have a discussion of our own board at a separate time. If that's what we want to go forward with, or we want to stay the same.
No, yeah, we could definitely have another meeting, but, Webster City Daycare has been very transparent tonight, and I think our opinions can be voiced just as easily, and I think no matter where they lie, I think they're welcome here. But I understand, if we wanted to kind of keep it closed doors.
Well, we can't really, are we on TV?
Yes, it's an open meeting.
See what I mean? We'd like to have some private discussion among our board.
I think the intent of this work session, though, is to talk about it openly as a group and try to move forward. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't have a private board meeting to talk about it, but if there's a feeling one way or another, people should feel free to express it in this meeting. The whole purpose behind it. If somebody's dead set against it, then we'd like to hear why. And, as a city, we're just trying to help move forward and have viable healthcare options for kids for, decades to come. That's the whole purpose of this. Not just viable, but good quality care for the kids.
Will your board meet open to your parents?
We've only had one since our new board, so.
Yeah, first one is.
Just one board member. My concern is budget. I'd like to put a budget together to see what that looks like. Can we actually handle it? And what does that look like? Say yes to something that is quite an unknown. Knowing that the building is provided makes a difference. But there will be maintenance issues. So I'd just like to give that some thought. What kind of charges do we have to charge to make this work?
I don't know all the history of the Webster City Daycare, but looking back at just some of the preliminary numbers, looking at what the mortgage was when they took it over, I was flabbergasted. I don't know how that daycare was going to make that work back then.
Yeah.
It was a huge number. I mean, it's a lot of money into the building, and then you take over the cost and pay it. And
that's why my intention, my thoughts was that you guys would not have that huge debt around your neck, because otherwise that's what we're doing. We're setting up to fail. And the thing is that you guys need to be in a position where you can pay decent wages without having that whole problem of having all your money going to maintenance and going to everything else.
Our board, just recently, it's like a very recent hard decision, raised rates, much more rates, and rates, but wages as well. Rate hike is coming, but the wage raise. You know what I'm saying? And again, as those difficult conversations, we had to sit down and again look within that ecosystem, see what we can handle, see what the temperature of the water was when it comes to the rates we had to turn around and ask for our parents. So.
Well, to be honest, other things that we don't necessarily have, or what Riverview doesn't. I'm thinking of the maintenance staff we're going to have to hire, the kitchen staff that will have to be hired, irregardless of what procedures. So those are all things that are really doubling or tripling. So what does all that look like? What I'd like to know.
And that's what I'm thinking, again, maintenance of the building, upkeep, and our administrative budget is gonna grow as we absorb. And we need to understand that, budget that, or the city be aware of their part in that piece.
Yeah, the intention wasn't that you would get a building that was old and have problems with everything in it, and it's your problem, see you later. Was that we would give continuing support for that. Because like, as you know now, I mean, when your cooler goes down, you're not, it's not, oh, I have to lay 2 people off this week so I can pay for a cooler, but that isn't gonna work.
And yeah, this is a conversation we tried having before you guys bought that building, like, it seemed more feasible than before you guys bought it, that we're both in a position where we didn't own the building. Then you bought the building, that dynamic kind of changed, in my mind anyway.
As far as buying Riverview or?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't have a choice.
Right.
As far as the school was.
Either we buy it or we roll the dice with the new landlord.
Yep. I just wish we would've had this 2 years ago when at least it was first brought to my attention.
Well, there's some things that is good and bad, and
Well, there's
they're here now. So it doesn't matter.
conversations kind of started, and then COVID hit, and everything took a backseat.
Well, the COVID's helped in some ways, so, I mean, there's been some more money thrown around, but it's, in some ways that's helped, in some ways it makes it worse, so. But it's given us some more funds too, which is one of the reasons we're looking at this as well, so. Oh.
Finances aside, idea of funds, they still. Riverview is very good at having those connections. Smaller class sizes, I feel center where you have to have 2 rooms of 3-year-olds.
I guess to me though, like, building shouldn't matter because the ratios have to stay the same, right? So you're not changing your amount of teacher to kid because you're keeping your ratios anyway, right? I mean, is that not true?
Yeah, we keep our ratios. We would.
Right. You guys don't like leave people stay extra so you can have more parents to a kid. I mean, that would still happen because
I think
financially we don't have a choice. You can't.
I think what she's referring to, though, is say they have one classroom of 3-year-olds, and now in this big building, we have 3 different classrooms, and you might have a different teacher, and then this teacher doesn't know as much what's going on with this child. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that.
Yeah, I suppose right.
It's kind of like school districts,
Yeah.
bigger than school districts.
I was gonna say that, it's just like.
It's just like.
Yeah, I don't have a fix for that one.
Have we reached out to like bigger cities and bigger centers and seen kind of like how they manage having that? Because you go down to Des Moines, they're going to have multiple rooms of the same age. So, I mean, this would be stuff we have to work out. I mean, minor details. I just know as a parent, like it would be really awesome for everybody to feel good about where they're taking their kid, because it really sucks to have to choose between daycare that you don't really want to go to, but you have to go to. It would be nice if everybody just had an option to go to an awesome daycare.
Well, regardless of what happens here, that's what we're working on right now, Caitlin.
I know. It's just, I think it would be cool if we had a unified childcare system in Webster City.
Yeah, I just think when my kids who are 20 now went to Webster City Daycare, that was the place to go when Riverview sucked, and now the word on the street is it's changed. So I just think that that's just the dynamic we won't get away from no matter what. There's always going to be the more popular one.
Well, I mean, within the
right word.
Well, it's like the economy though. So it's, if there's one center, and maybe there's frustrations with the city funded or the whatever you want to call this, it's not really going to be the city center. It's going to be obviously ran, nonprofit group running it. There's frustrations with that. Well, then possibly that would spur options of in-home daycares popping up or a private investor-owned daycare coming in to our space. I'm not worried too much about the dynamics of like who's the place to be at when. It's really just the amenity. You know, so for instance, we have crappy roads and we have brand new roads. We're investing millions of dollars on a couple main arteries of town, and we've probably neglected others. And people still have to drive on those roads or not. It's a horrible analogy, but I see it as just, again, a public amenity we have to finance, we have to fund if it doesn't stand on its own. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that crumbling of that amenity happening due to 1,000 different aspects and 1,000 different influences. And just, you know, in 2021, this happens where we'd be at. Merging two options together is a viable option. I think it's probably the best option we have. Is it ideal? No, but it's better than the alternatives. And a couple of those alternatives are cannot happen. Personally, I wish more in-home daycare providers stepped up and took that burden off of these centers, spread out a little bit that need. But again, like people like Building Families have tried to stimulate that, encourage people to do in-home daycares with some effect, but just not enough to sustain what we need.
Your worries about the class sizes should really be able to be controlled somewhat with management, be able to be managed right. But we wouldn't have, like we have in the school system where they always worry about 60 kids in a classroom, and as against being 30 kids in a classroom. I wouldn't think we would get to that, would we? I mean, I know it's a staffing problem and why you end up there, but
I think it could be mitigated with funding, right? So like, okay, we have the two parents that are normally with this group of kids. Well, that group of kids got down to half. The other group of kids got down to half. Do we merge and send someone home? If we got to worry about the bottom line, yes. If we don't worry about the bottom line, keep the two that are normally with that group of kids to keep everyone comfortable.
But obviously, if we're getting up with too many kids, then we have to have another classroom or whatever. And of course, dynamically, that must happen anyway when you have more years. I mean, I would assume after last year, everyone being locked away, maybe there's going to be more kids here in a couple of years.
The COVID
right? Yeah, no joke. So it'll be. Then if that continues through, then obviously every year for those couple of years, that'll be a bigger classroom size than there was previously and afterwards. So that's a dynamic that happens, and hopefully we can take care of that part of it, or you can take care of that part of it, because it is a serious worry. I mean,
Rosie,
one-on-one's much better.
Do you have any comments or anxieties or input?
Lots of anxieties.
No, I think the financial thing that I understand better as far as my main thing is, I mean, we pay our bills on time. That's something that I feel very strongly about in my personal life and in my business life. So that's one thing that kind of worried me. Like, I don't want us to get in over our head and then be like, everybody can give us money or, whatever. That's a big concern, I guess.
The other question that keeps going through my head is this center supposed to be the solution for childcare issues in our community? Because we'll have to have some kind of cap on this, so we won't be able to take every child. And I mean, is that what I'm hearing, or am I just thinking that?
I can't see that it's a solution.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously, we'd try and make it big enough so you could expand somewhat, but there's going to be a limit to it.
That's right.
Because you can't just keep, obviously this, I don't know, because it's funny, I guess if we got to be we could be like, Blaisburg is now, where they're getting all the people from here going there. So I don't want it to be where we're taking in kids from Fort Dodge because we got room.
I guess, to me, the restriction's staffing, right? Like, if we took all our staff together, how many kids could we watch,
I think staffing will be an issue, yes.
Right. So I think square footage is one of the problems, but really, if we build a building that can hold 300 kids, do we even have staff to do 200? I don't know.
And it's not a silver bullet solution. I see this move as a move the city can help with, having some ownership of a property that could house it, having some creative ideas, having some funding, but it's not a silver bullet. I think what we're figuring out today is a treatment for the symptoms, not a cure. Because there's still going to need to be at-home daycare. There's still going to need to be additional daycares in the future if Webster City is to grow.
Right now, our situation is we are in dire need for childcare, and I don't think this is gonna solve that necessarily.
No, not 100%.
No,
But I think it will give longevity to the current provided, childcare resource we have by merging it into, a board that's, kind of been running and gunning on this for a while, has it honed down into a center that we can grow from. So it's gonna help that longevity of the resource we have now, I think, more than anything, in addition to possibly add more.
Well, on that note, we need to look at the option of keeping both of them open and expanding Webster City Daycare to house more. Riverview's pretty landlocked, but, maybe, working as one group with multiple buildings is more of an option to fix the childcare issue.
No, that's not an efficient way of working that stuff. I mean, you're better off, in that case, you're better off having two separate managements because it's too hard to run. One person's then gonna spend all the time running between two places.
But I do see your point though, Brian, like, since we're gonna be in that building for a while anyway, if we do go down this path, as a transition happens, or as additions are made, or repairs done, if we can maintain Riverview to the point that, hey, we can just minimally keep this thing going and either invite in another group, whether it maybe be privately owned to take it over, or if the city at that point, in 2 or 3 years from now, see an uptick in children hitting the center, we do need the extra space, then we do have it as an option, as possibly even a bridge to a bigger center or whatever. So I don't think it's a bad idea to keep Riverview's building viable as a center up until the day we don't need it anymore, which I don't think is going to be in 2 years. I think it might need a little longer than that.
I think the only way you can answer that question is to know what those buildings are gonna need. If they're 20 years into not having any major repairs done. I know for the last 5 to 7 years, that's kind of been the approach at Webster City Daycare, of just fix it when it breaks. Now everything's breaking. So without being proactive and replacing those major components before they absolutely break, you're gonna end up with two places that are costing a lot of money. The old building.
Maybe a structural audit, it would be good for both, not only, again, Webster Daycare makes more sense to grow, but just for our own knowledge and the city's own knowledge of what that building has going for it and what it doesn't, or how big of a gamble it is. So again, I think every option's on the table, but the merger of the management, staff, and the children all in one center, I think, is ideal for this solution. Right? 2 centers would only be as a emergency basis or expansion beyond our capabilities with the land.
And try to pull some data too from I think Fort Dodge is building a new daycare, so just kind of trying to see what the current cost is, of those that are either building or have just recently built.
They're gonna build this one for one. Is that something? Purina bought that whole place where the DOT was. Daycare center.
They're expanding that whole Godfathers.
Cool. Is that something city staff can pull together? Kind of like comparables with surrounding cities, like reach out to Fort Dodge, see if they got into it, see how many dollar per child it can house type thing, and maybe run those against other towns that recently built one. I think Humboldt did years ago. Again, just give us an idea of what a new center would cost.
And then try.
And in parallel.
Call me, but.
We don't have too many people.
You can do it,
in
Daniel.
the field at the moment.
It's 24 hours a day, right?
Well, I mean, this seems relatively, pressing, and I'm not saying to bump something else that's very important, but it's definitely high on our radar here today. But, and then in parallel, doing those audits of the buildings and getting an idea of what we have to put in them.
So you've got a fair idea of what your building's doing that, don't you? So, you know, I think you probably don't need too much on your building. And the bigger question is whether it's what it's gonna take to keep you up and running now, and then whether the building's up to being good, you know, good building for another 40 years or something, you know. If it isn't, then we just throw good money after bad to try and do too much to it.
The two were to join, then what happens to the Riverview building? Riverview technically owns it currently, so then would they be able to sell it, and then that profit from the
They
sale?
won't be getting any profit.
Well.
But if you manage to get a good profit with it, then they would have more money.
So then that would just go.
That was their money.
To
It's their building.
Riverview, put it in their general budget, and then the building.
It's not our building, it's completely their building.
So I mean, if they're able to, you know, sell it for a decent amount, that's money that would go, it's not, so then the city would then be doing the other building for maintenance and repairs and upgrades and whatever else that needed.
Yeah, we don't get, if they sell their building and make $100,000, they get to keep $100,000.
So I mean, it might have the potential, if it could be sold,
Yeah.
to get a little.
Well, you
bit
never
started.
know, another daycare,
Right, I
people
think
from Des Moines come up and buy it and go, well, we want to start a daycare.
down in the metro area, there's people doing it all the time. They're looking for buildings to start a daycare. There is money in it, profit growing money in it. You know, I don't know why somebody wouldn't be interested in putting a daycare in Riverview. I mean, it's its own piece of wood for that purpose. And, yeah, I would hope to get something out of it. But yeah, technically we bought it for like $1, right? It was school board.
You'll at least double your money.
Right.
Well, one can only hope. So, yeah, I mean, but yeah, that would be money purely on goes in their coffers. We're here to try and make it succeed, to make both of them succeed. And succeed to where it's, you know, it's a long-term solution, and it's not, you got to get the staff to where you haven't got staff problems. I mean, you're going to have staff problems, I think. We all have staff problems. But you guys are fighting, you know, I can pay more money to people, and I'm still can't get people. But it's, you guys have got to get to where you can afford to pay more money.
Well, and
At
since
least
we
get
have-
to it.
Since we have raised our wages, we have got more staff.
Yeah.
So right
But
now,
you-
we're
but
good,
that's-
but
Yeah, but the trouble is with that is it's gonna, you know, you've only raised it, you know, it's still not where probably it needs to be.
Right.
So,
They realize they all can work at McDonald's and make better money, right?
yeah.
that's the problem, you always chase for that.
Ridiculous.
So if you can get ahead of it a little bit, then where you need to get to.
Do we need to have like a staffing and management plan as well, so that way we know, you know, who's overseeing what, which ones, because I know Riverview has a very good dynamic, and it would be a shame for them to merge and then have all of that kind of go away. To know like what's gonna stay, who's gonna phase out here, who's gonna move around, so that way, I feel like to know that the management is on board and they know what they're gonna do, rather than just the board saying, yep, we're gonna slap you two together and good luck. Like that they know what they're supposed to do and that they're confident in that it's gonna work. Not us just kind of pushing them together.
And that's what I'm asking for in the short term for us.
No,
Is that,
and
is
you
that
know what,
administrative help?
if our board says, yes, I wanna, you know, we're gonna merge them, I will take care of business. That's what I do, that's what I did 15, 20 years ago, so.
And with the kids we have, I don't think anyone will have to worry about losing their jobs. We need all the staff we can get, so.
Yeah, I think administrative and organizational support, whether that comes financial or just help getting organized and understanding what that merger looks like day by day, month by month, is key for us to move forward. And what that is, I don't know. And again, that, you know, I task you to just let us know, raise your hand, like, hey, what I need now is a full-time cook, and start learning their kitchen, my kitchen, and start working under my management, or I'm just using as examples. Or I need an assistant, another assistant or something like that, or I need to move Christy into a different role, or whatever it may be. And then again, if anyone's listening at home, this doesn't affect anyone's job, I'm not getting this all hypothetical, but I'm just saying, like, we need to kind of understand that, and just raise your hand if you do need anything. But I say all this, and I'll preface it, I know Darlene, it's important we talk as a board and come together unified on a decision, right? I don't want to move this train too far ahead.
Reading your lips, Logan.
I'm sorry. I know you want to meet and discuss this as a board, so
Yeah.
I don't want to move the train too far ahead, but that's something we should probably do in the very short term.
We have a board meeting next Thursday, so we can bring this up and talk about it freely and see where we stand on how we feel about it. Right now, we have a viable, well-run, quality daycare. Do we want to grow it bigger, or do we want to stay a smaller, quality-run daycare? So I think that's going to be one of our questions. We know if we go forward to grow, there's going to be a whole lot of issues come up. So.
As a parent, I wonder about the lack of, what incentivizes each daycare to be better if there's only one? What incentivizes the staff to want to be the best or be at one place versus the other? Riverview is great, but what will the center be in 20 years? I mean, you can't know what the board, or Rosie, you won't be there forever.
I'm not gonna retire till 65 again.
As a parent, I wonder what it's like to not have the choice. Your choice is one center or with one like mind or in-home daycare. And is that good for the town, for the staff? Is that good for everybody? I think that's devil's advocate to everything we've talked about, but I do think about that as a parent. You know, what would I want to, there is no, you have in-home or center. You can't look at two different centers or decide what you like, or do you love the staff, or do you love this director, or do you love the culture at each place, because one place is it.
I think we're so short on childcare right now, everybody's just waiting for a spot, you know. And if you're waiting for a spot at Riverview, you might be at Webster Daycare for 2 years. I mean, that's happened a lot.
But I get what you're saying, like, without choice, there becomes a chip on your shoulder with the parent, and without choice, there becomes an arrogance to the provider. Possibly. These are
Possibly, right. I'm not saying that is how it is.
And that
I'm saying
arrogance
that's the
could
potential.
deteriorate the care, and that chip on the shoulder could frustrate the parent. I understand that. Knowing Rosie since grade school, and knowing the center relatively intimately for the last 7 years, I don't see her being motivated by being better than anyone else. She's motivated, and I'm sure your staff is too, motivated by the care of the kids, the pleasing the parents, providing a safe environment, and never clocking out. And I see her be motivated by that. I'm comfortable with the one center because I've seen that. If I saw management care about the bottom line every day, talk about, you know, this is that, this is horrible, this is that, and not come with these positive stories and good moments, I would be worried. But I am afraid, yes, the community may have that stigma outside looking in that we don't have looking inside out. So it's very valid points, and you know, I hate throwing this word about it. I mean, like socialist, city-ran daycare. I'm not sending my kid there, you know, like, but it's not gonna be city-run.
But it's not, I mean, the city doesn't run these things. So.
And I think Webster Daycare had ourselves on kind of an island with the previous director, and I think that's gone now. Like we can communicate with Rosie, and some of that stuff that was happening previously is gone too. I think that'll help regardless of where this goes.
You don't get two high schools to pick from, so I don't see why we need to get two
How many
daycares.
daycares are there in a community of our size, really?
Yeah.
I don't know how many in-homes there are.
No, just the center.
Oh, I'm talking about private daycares outside of home.
Yeah.
How many are there in the community?
In our community?
In other
No, I'm not
communities.
talking
Other
about-
Oh, in a community our
Any
size.
community you're at,
Oh.
particularly our size. You
Yeah,
got
that's a good call.
Humboldt,
I don't know.
Algonah, those types of situations, is it more than one big city?
Right, I don't know.
Some are functioning pretty well, others are not. That's how I see it from what I've looked at anyway. And it depends on your director for this one. And a strong board.
Well, I think that's the bigger piece of this as being a parent, and obviously your board's very much involved, with the parents are involved, and you have another group that meets. And there's the parent, you have another
Parent committee.
parent committee as well. So it's not just management running it, and we don't care what anybody else thinks. So the parents get to weigh in on how it's being run. So it's not, it isn't just, is it? It's how you have to have a bit of say. I mean, I know in some ways maybe it's even more so than you can get at the high school. So I don't know. It's, you probably feel more comfortable going to your board for a meeting than you do going to the school board. I don't think any system is perfect.
What are our next steps?
Well, I guess we'll wait to hear back from you guys. We need to get somebody to look at, we'll get somebody to look at that building and, see what's needed there. And then also see whether that building, can anything be done with the building? So then we'll get back to you and let you know that. Hopefully, if we can find that out before you have your meeting, then you'll know what that looks like.
This is just an idea, like, meetings like this might be pretty relevant and beneficiary if we start kind of doing a regular cadence, like once a month, once every other month, checking in, making steps, making adjustments as we go. And these can be tacked on to regular council meetings too, before or after if we needed to, not add any more load, any staff for us.
I always think when we say any other committee at the end of our council meetings is where I should chime in with this stuff, that it would just be endless where we stop,
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so we've got some homework to do, I guess, from our side of it. Get back to you guys, and you guys can kick it around and see what you think.
What does Webster City Daycare Board think? I mean, are you kind of speaking for all of them, where they're all
I don't know, they're just all not as loud as me.
I mean, because I do feel some hesitancy there too, and we have had these meetings before, and we've really thought about it, and the Webster City Daycare Board's like, no, we're okay right now. And I've talked to them for the past 15 or more years.
We're missing one board member tonight, she had a school board meeting. But, you guys speak up, I don't think I'm saying anything that we're not kind of all realizing has to happen in some capacity. These conversations were happening before the latest stuff happened at Webster Daycare, so.
I feel like as a board, we don't do the day-to-day stuff there, so it's kind of hard in that position to say what should happen, that it should kind of be up to the management and administration to what they feel and then support that. But it's kind of hard to say, well, we think you can do it, way to go, and then
Well, it's tough
see
when
what happens, or
you're
like,
not getting fed the right information too.
because I would rather have the administration say, yeah, I think this would work, this is how we should set it up, and then support that, rather than us do it for them and just say, yeah, we got you a building, here you go, here's the money. Like I feel like the administration needs to have the plan, like, okay, we would like it set up like this, we would like money for that, this is what we should be doing for staffing. Because I'm like, I'm not gonna be hiring staff, I'm not gonna be doing the training, so I don't have a say in that. So I feel like the administration that are running the daycare should be putting a lot more input than the board.
I'm hesitant to take the lack of choice away from parents.
In a business, I would fully support that it makes business sense to put them together. But with that being said, I do worry about, okay, we talked about contingency plans on what happens when the center has to shut down, and now you have 200 plus kids that are without daycare for a day. Or, you know, can we make it all work in this building? Are we creating more buildings in the city or in the town? There's a lot of different aspects to it. I would support probably either way. I think either way, we need quality daycare. I would like to see the daycares interact more, and honestly, I didn't have a child. I had a child in an in-home daycare, so I'm kind of an outsider to this. But based on what I've seen over just the last month, it would be nice to be able to have them both be quality daycares and run with the same mindsets and such, and not be, well, Riverview's great, they won't help us, we won't help them. You know, I'd like to see that no matter what happens, we're working together more. Yes, we're two separate entities at the moment, but I'd still like to see us work together.
And, you know, and just to kind of answer that, Hillary has messaged me. I'll answer her questions. I'm never going to say no to somebody who asks for help. I've had lots of different daycares that have asked me, and I'm willing to do that. I just can't take such a time.
And I understand that.
And peace and, you know, stuff like that even.
And I am proud to say that I got the majority of my training from Rosie, my education from the board. They allowed me to do my education. I am 100% proud to say that. I would like maybe if Rosie would let me have a main teacher from my room, watch some of their dynamics of their programs. It's in my head. I know what it is. My standard is there. My staff isn't yet. It's hard. You just be like, I have to try not to say that. My staff can get there. They just haven't been given the opportunity for training, which we did all last week. It was great. Staff of Riverview, I think they'd be good mentors. They'd be good mentors for like a day. Say my 4-year-old teacher, follow their 4-year-old teacher. Just kind of follow them around, see how they do things, how they organize things, how their day-to-day works, because it's great.
And maybe that's part of that immediate need for funding. Maybe some of it is air conditioners and plumbing. The other part of it is possibly, you know, some extra training dollars to send some of your staff over when they're unable and shadow, you know, us as a good first step of a potential merge. So again, I don't know logistically how that works for you, but you know, I mean,
I would agree with what you said about that. I do think it's going to have to be the directors who design that new building or design it, whatever building ends up. They know what works, and I think that's what we have to follow and be patterned.
Would it be more beneficial to like hire Rosie as a consultant rather than her just constantly giving up her time from her job and stuff?
It doesn't change the time.
It doesn't change.
Well, it doesn't change the time, but it's actually, like, I feel like it's,
not working for free.
yeah, it's not just her,
Right.
her time for us that is actually
but
being rewarded.
Yeah, the problem is, I mean, she already has a full-time job.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
it
tough
doesn't change the
to
bandwidth.
say, and there, Rosie, just find another 10 hours in your day.
But again, that's where I come back to, if we can bring on another staff member or accelerate Christie into a role, or you can pare back a little and do that, knowing we're getting some back-end funding to help support that other role because of the consulting work. And again, that would be a good marriage of the two centers, a contractual marriage with a consulting type of relationship now that evolves into a merger type relationship. And again, that's that first step. That's not just leaving it up to, well, you'll text if you have a question, or someone will come over and shadow if they have time, if they have the dollars. Now it's a contractual agreement where there's financial backing to justify the time or justify bringing another staff member to allow for that time. And again, all the people on our board never claim to know how to do Rosie's job. And when I speak like this, I just wait to look over Rosie being like, so I keep pivoting to her because she knows, like, hey, is that even possible? You know, is that something that we could do? But I really do feel a consulting type relationship at this point is probably the best, just to evolve the relationship. And it knows both centers are bound in the minimalist form possible. You know?
So, I mean, I think that's probably what's going to have to happen. If the merge does go, I mean, it's going to have to happen, because you are going to get your job just got a lot harder. So obviously you'd have to be compensated for that. So, because I mean, you know how it is. I mean, you get 3 phone calls. You just spend 3 hours talking to somebody trying to sort something out, or you end up going over there for 3 hours.
All right, so they're gonna talk We're gonna look at the building. Have another one of these sometime soon. Thought?
Yeah, so we meet next Thursday, right? A week from Thursday. And our next council meeting is a week from today, right?
Yep.
It'll be that we won't have a council meeting until September.
That Labor Day?
Yeah.
So we won't have, do we have one on Labor Day?
Tuesday will be.
We have 5 Mondays this month, so if you want to meet the 30th of August, that's between.
It might be beneficial for us and them to bump up our meeting to later this week. Or if not, early Monday evening before the next council meeting. At least just to give an answer to the council, kind of where our heads are at
I'm not
collectively.
against having another work session, because if we try to do it after a council meeting, then it gets pretty late.
I mean, I just like, as our board can meet probably before next council meeting, or again, not wait till September, or wait till the next work session, maybe another week after that. Again, just keep that momentum we started with this meeting.
And I think if you think that, I don't know, obviously you've said that help out, but I don't know, if there's something we can do financially or whatever to help that, to get you guys, so you're getting a little bit of training, whatever.
Yeah, that's Rosie and her staff out of place, because I'd like to see my staff watching smoothly operating.
Yeah.
How it should be,
Yeah.
So I don't know how that works for either one of them, but I did, it'd be good to see us talk about that, I suppose, but I don't know, what you're gonna need some assistance to get that done, or whatever it is, so let us know. So that's, it'll work, it works well no matter which way this goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Value added.
And I don't know how that system works, but you can put a figure on it, if you're a figure school, so. We do it on that. All right, well, thanks very much. Call for motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thanks, Caitlin.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody out there.
This is awesome. Good talk.
Yeah.
Good thing I turned the air down in here, it would've got hot, Joe. I saw she put her jacket on.
I'm
I'm always, I put a extra layer on just to come here, because I know he's down here.